Hey there, everybody. Pete Pardo here from Sea of Tranquility. Welcome to another edition of Monday Night Must See TV with the Hudson Valley Squares. Look at this. We've got the original Hudson Valley Squares tonight. Ryan
Woohoo!
Scow, Nick Franco, Chris Allo, Steve Keeler. We're here to talk about our favorite EPs of all time, top 5 EPs. And as we were discussing before we went on the air, this is kind of like a heavy metal thing. I mean, metal bands are notorious for releasing EPs. There's been a lot of great ones over the last 30, 40 years. And I think as we started doing the research and kind of going through our memory banks, we put together some pretty big lists. We're trying to pare it down. So we're going to go one by one. From number 5 all the way to number 1. Everybody's going to get a chance to give one favorite, then we'll move on to the next person. We'll go all the way around till we get to number 1. So we're going to go Steve, Chris, Nick, Ryan, myself, and then back around and back around and back around. So Mr. Keeler, kick us off with your number 5.
We're really old fashioned tonight.
Old school, Stevie. Old school.
I wasn't even thinking I was going first there. I gotta fill them out. So 3.
Want me to go first?
I can do it.
Okay.
Coming in at number 5. I didn't do a lot of notes. So I didn't think I was doing a show tonight, but I was able to do it. So I slapped something together. So going with Destruction, Sentence of Death. The first demo, the first EP from Destruction.
Best thing they ever did. I said
it has Total Disaster, it has Mad Butcher, it has some other tracks that I didn't write down, which I was going to, but got tied up. But Ryan will fill you in. So yeah, the best thing they ever did. Most people, a lot of people are going to say the Mad Butcher EP, but I picked this because Mad Butcher is also on the EP too. Right. You know?
I think it's the most evil Destruction ever sounded. Like, it sounds fucking evil. That's a good EP.
Great thrash metal.
Yeah.
Evil thrash. Really good.
Tonic thrash, the way it ought to be played, right?
Absolutely.
Cool. Good choice. Chris.
All right. Well, it's funny mentioned that Steve mentioned that because I have a rock fantasy story with that. It was, but I couldn't find it. Quick story. I had met Steve at Judas Priest show or Def Leppard show in summer of '88 at the Orange County Fair. He ran over to me, gave me a flyer. We talked. The next day was first was Def Leppard. Next day was the Judas Priest show. So before the show, I go to Rock Fantasy. I meet Steve there, and up on the wall, Steve had 2 records, and I was like, "Holy shit!" The first one, I couldn't believe I got it. It's only been 35 years. It was a steal. I think I still owe Steve some money.
Whoa.
The very first Overkill EP.
Nice.
I think I got it from Rock Fantasy for like $5. I couldn't believe it. I looked for this thing for years. I've never seen another copy of it.
Is that the same copy?
Oh, of course. Yeah. I only had one. I've only ever seen one copy.
Let's look what's it going for nowadays, and you'll know me the balance.
No idea. Well, we should totally. Nick should look it up.
Nick, look that up, please. Find an original copy of that, and we're going to find out how much Chris owes me tonight.
Punch it up on Discogs. Let's see what it goes.
The other thing was Steve had. Now I already had Destruction, Sentence of Death, and it was the EP, and it was on vinyl, and I had the version where they're like standing up behind. I think it's a brick wall or something. And they've got they've got so much ammo belts on them that they look like their backs must hurt.
Yeah.
But then I'm in Rock Fantasy. Not only does Steve have this on the wall, but he's got Sentence of Death, but with a different cover. The one Steve had was from like the same photo shoot, but they were lying on the grass. So I'm like, I gotta buy that one too.
I've never seen that one.
I bought that, and I was hoping that was like when I started looking through all my vinyl, I was like, I gotta find the 2 Destructions, and of course, I couldn't find either. But then I did find
it tomorrow, though, right? Or you'll find it.
I will totally find. We'll totally find them tomorrow, Pete. But that's my my rock fantasy. So thanks.
Well, if you do find them, you got to show them on the Monsters Den on Thursday. So everybody watching, make sure you tune into the Monsters Den because I'm sure Chris will take another look.
And like you guys both mentioned, I was also looking for the Mad Butcher EP, which I have, and I couldn't find that either. But I did find a ton of other ones.
Put them in alphabetical order.
Yeah, I should.
So I've been
They-
trying for ages,
Yeah.
Steve. He'll get there.
Oh, I know that Pete's are in alphabetical order, and I
Listen.
walk behind him.
Steve, I keep saying all I need is like a pandemic or something to keep me home, and then I can
Oh,
organize
God.
everything.
I think you've already had that.
Oh, you,
My
I missed
whole
my shot.
room is in alphabetical order.
Is that a
Everything
one-
here is in
the-
alphabetical order.
The dead of
Right.
winter's coming. So maybe you can do
That's
it up
true.
in winter.
Winter is coming up.
Scow's
the-
organized, he's military, so you can, he fits that, he knows what to do.
I tell you what, Chris, we should have like a categorizing party. I'll bring a case of beer and some food, and we'll make it like a Saturday project. We'll start. I'll
Nice.
get your ass up early in the morning, and we'll do that all day, and we'll get that place in shape.
That would
Then
be
I
a
can
project for
take the Overkill album back since he didn't pay for it.
sure. Nice. It's
Yeah.
definitely worth more than $4.
Been on
So,
layaway for 35 years, Steve.
so the cheapest one is $144.50 on this guy.
Wow.
And it
nice.
goes-
Got it for a
Yeah.
steal.
And it goes up from there. 160, 194, 198, 214, and 450.
Wow.
and,
$450.
Yep. And they said that there was only 4,000 of these ever made, and that Overkill never received a dime for them. They got rid of them.
Wow. Neither did I.
What? I gave you $4?
Oh, you did? Oh, I thought
Yeah,
you stole it.
Keeler too.
No, I didn't
Yeah.
steal it. Get out of here.
What'd you say, 450? I think Chris paid you $4.50.
Yeah, I paid you
Oh,
$4.
Yeah, only about $400
$4
ago.
or $5.
But
whatever
that's
it
gotta
was.
be that's gotta be the one that's worth the most money, the one you have.
Oh, totally.
I mean, listen,
owned by famous rock journalist Chris Allen. It's gotta
listen,
be
$5 in
It's a new condition,
1988.
too.
That was like probably like a whole pizza or something.
Yeah.
But that's what an EP went for in 1988.
Yeah.
Because the new album was what, like $8, $9?
Yeah, I was gonna say $8-9, right?
So the EP was in that era, ballpark, yeah.
And I remember that Mad Butcher EP because I bought that for me too, Steve.
Okay.
That had colored vinyl, didn't it?
Yes, there was a red one and a black one. There
Yeah.
might have been more.
Yeah, I think mine was red. It was
I had
red.
a cool
Red was the
cover,
good one to
too.
have.
It had some pretty cool artwork on that, too.
Yeah.
Yes, really good artwork.
All right, Mr. Franco, you're up.
So yeah, with the EPs, I know there's some ones that I wanted to pick that I know some of the others of you would have. So I'm gonna fulfill my function and my role, which is to go a little more, obscure. So I mean, and you'll all have heard of this, but the first one I'm gonna pick is Hordanus Land by Enslaved, the Norwegian Light Gods.
Amazing.
Yeah, right. And it's 3 songs. Here's my copy signed on a
Nice.
drunken night of revelry by the guys. It's they were so young, and yet they made such really, really impactful music at such a young age. All the titles are in Norwegian. Well, no, the song Enslaved is in English, but Slaget i Skogen Borten for. Too bad Bush isn't here to go, what? Wait a minute. But
You're speaking Norwegian? And they're from Norway? Ah!
they were so young, but this song is like 11 minutes long, and it's filled with this beautiful like repeating keyboard and riff section, and it's just super fast.
Yeah,
and
it's,
freaking
it's,
vocal.
it's pretty compositionally advanced for like how young those guys were. Like it's not it doesn't sound like a garage band or like a high school band for sure.
Right, yeah, and it had the benefit of coming out at the time when did this come out? 90, Jesus. Everything is remastered, so I got to look up when it came out, but it was very early 90s, and they really, really struck at a time when that movement in Norway was really, really gaining a lot of steam and notoriety, and Enslaved were just like good kids that just rehearsed in their parents' back room and had none of the crime and craziness attached to that scene, but their music was very vicious. And this came out in May of '93 when all that was going on. So Enslaved gets my my first vote.
Cool. Good one.
It doesn't hurt that it was reissued as a split with Emperor's self-titled EP, which also that definitely bumped up its visibility.
Yeah, such greatness. And you have the speed and the ferocity, but you also have the atmosphere of that time, the echoing
That's some of the
drums.
best
Like
stuff they ever
real-
did for me. I love
What's
that.
that?
I said that EP is probably some of the best stuff Enslaved ever did for me. I really like it.
It is, and they've just been playing that stuff more recently again, but as grown men and really accomplished musicians, and it sounds even better. So good stuff. Classic.
Cool.
I agree.
All right, Ryan.
All right. Well, like you said, when I started digging into this, most EPs, it's really the territory of black metal, death metal, thrash metal, old hardcore punk. You go into classic metal, classic rock. I don't know. The format just doesn't exist. So I'm making a list here, and I figured what better way to start off than in my opinion, one of the bands that kickstarted black metal, death metal, thrash metal, hardcore punk. Obviously the granddaddies, the grand poobahs would be Motorhead, but these two other slightly sleazier English bands kind of came up shortly after Motorhead. One, of course, is Venom, who were fucking awesome. But the other one, another English band, 1981, they released this, and the band is Discharge, and it's called the Y EP. And they're a hardcore punk band, but make no mistake, without these guys, I don't think there would be a Slayer, Metallica, Celtic Frost, all that stuff, Destruction. And if it did, it would sound totally different. Because these guys are like the first band to really like just go balls to the wall, full on like nuclear speed, just an absolute like raging, intensity. Motorhead kind of had that, but not to this level. And this was like they had a couple singles, but this was their first like big release was the Y 1981. And yeah, if you don't know this, like I say, it's a hardcore punk album, but as soon as you hear this, like you'll hear like where Metallica, Metallica have actually covered this band. Anthrax covered them. Freaking dumbass Arch Enemy covered them. Carpathian Force covered them. So like their influence within metal is profound. Like to me, they're like Motorhead, Venom, Discharge, and it's just a great fucking band. I like them a lot. I'm not really big into most punk, but these guys are probably my favorite old hardcore punk band, and this EP is fantastic. I'm going with Y from 1981.
Why?
Well, checking out.
YSY.
Y. Yeah, it's well worth checking out. Very, very, very heavy album, especially our EP, especially for that. I don't think there's an album. Maybe Welcome to Hell, maybe, but I don't think there's anything else in 1981 that's as intense as that. So you can see the black metal, thrash metal, all that stuff where it came from back then.
And most of these that I think that we're going to be talking about today are generally speaking between like 15 and 28 minutes thereabouts. Maybe we might have a couple 30, if that.
Yeah, that's about right. Yeah, I guess how long the EP format. Yeah, I'd say that's fair.
Right. I was gonna say I know I always kind of looked at EPs as okay. I guess it's more than 2 songs.
Yeah.
That's how I was kind of.
Yeah, most I think are 3 at least. Some are 5 or 6. Yeah.
And I don't know if there's an official like Recording Industry Association of America, category or. But me personally, I was all right. I guess if it's more than 3 songs, it's not a single.
Yeah. All right, my first choice of today, released in 1984, and it's interesting. Ryan was talking before about how most classic metal bands did not release EPs. This is one of the rare. Well, there's a couple of exceptions, but this is one of them. The Dungeons Are Calling by Sabotage.
Nice.
That's a good
Also,
one.
kind of interesting that a band like this would release an EP so like soon into their career, right? And so this follows, of course, we got Sirens was their debut, but man, so heavy, so evil sounding. I love the early Sabotage stuff. It's like, they really changed a lot, like as the 80s wore on and they moved into the 90s, but there's something about that really early Sabotage sound. It's just dark and really heavy. It's kind of thrashy. It's kind of power metal-y. You got John Oliva, who, was in the news like once again the other day, unfortunately, but man, that demonic wail of his, Chris Oliva's guitar work. I mean, the title track, Midas Night, so many great songs on here. Just awesome EP. And again, this is probably pushing the boundaries of an EP because this is a little longer than most, but still under a half hour. And I think one of the coolest things they ever did. So that's my first pick for today. Back to Steve.
Well, mine coming in at number 4 is not a metal album. It's one I listened to a ton in the 90s and sold a ton of. And this one really comes in long. It is considered an EP and was the first EP to go number 1 on the Billboard charts at Alice in Chains with Jar of Flies.
Kind of hoping someone would pick that. That's a good one.
I picked it, and it's not very metal, but
no,
it was an album that I like. I still listen to quite a bit, but I Stay Away is such a great song.
Oh yeah.
Nutshell. It's just the whole thing is from top to bottom, but it's definitely, when I first looked at it today, I was like, wait, is this an EP? Because there's a lot of songs on this record. But it's an EP from Alice in Chains. And of course, they're kind of famous with Rock Fantasy because we did an in-store with them. So at the time, we didn't know who they were, and now it's like one of the biggest in-stores we ever did. It's like, you know, anybody comes in the store knows who they are. It's like, Alice in Chains was here once. I'm like, yeah. You can mention all the other bands that were there, but Alice in Chains seems to be, you know, the biggest ones, of course.
Good choice. Chris, back to you.
All right, I'm doing a double from the same guy. These are both super rare. This one's these are both technically bootlegs. I looked for this one for years. I wish this was an original. I think these go for, I don't know, I think like 1,500 or $2,000. Beware the Misfits. This is the 7-track EP that the Misfits released only in England, and it has the first version, or the first release of Last Caress. And Last Caress wasn't available until later, until they put out Collection 2, which I think was like early 90s. That's a bootleg. I have an original, 2 original pressings of this, but I couldn't find it. But this is a bootleg of Danzig's second band, Samhain and Unholy Passion, which was a 5-track EP he did in 1985, I think. Took the band, Samhain was more gothic than, more goth rock than the Misfits, and he went in a little bit more of a, furthered that direction. And yeah, I just absolutely love the Samhain stuff. And this EP has been out of print for like a bazillion years. I think they pressed it on vinyl and then it immediately went away. And then they did do a CD pressing, but I think it was in a Misfits or a Samhain box set, and that's long out of print, so it's kind of hard to get.
That's pretty cool.
It was cool.
Yeah.
That's my favorite thing. That band's my favorite thing Danzig ever did.
Samhain, yeah, it's so
like
good. Those 3
Fucking
releases he did are just fantastic.
Absolutely, I agree. It's really fucking dark, that stuff.
Really dark, really gothy, and it's definitely, you could see where it really does kind of bridge the gap between the punk of the Misfits and the more, you know, metal, hard rockish of Danzig.
All right, Nick, back to you.
All right. So we're going into the annals of Swedish death metal here. Why not?
I know what's coming up.
Oh yeah, look at that CD. Isn't that cool?
Yeah,
That is the great Dismember.
that artwork. Hold that artwork right up front, because that artwork is special. No, on the booklet. On the booklet, you gotta get that right up front. That is such cool artwork.
Yeah.
They're airtight together. Fucking love
When
it.
I got this album, I thought these guys were absolutely out of their goddamn minds because I got it a long time ago. But it's a little death metal EP called Pieces, and Nuclear Blast America, the old logo and everything. This is you know, not as valuable as what Chris was holding up, but I'm sure it's you know, this version is probably a little bit special. I got it a long time ago. But yeah, for those not familiar, they were a bit of a melodic take on death metal, but they sounded so filthy and raw, but it was still produced really well. And man, you'll want to put this on and thrash around your room. The title track, Pieces, Carnal Tomb, I Wish You Hell, all of it really, really, really razor sharp death metal with a groove. You know, the bass tone in it is just so good. I don't know if you like your death metal with a little bit of thrashiness to it. There's no like blast beats really too much. It's
The best.
yeah, I mean, Ryan, you know, yeah, it's
I love
look at
that.
it.
I love the fuck out of that.
They're such an underappreciated band. They're revered in the underground, but they're not really known too much outside of it. But Dismember has a lot more going on, I think, than their, you know, the logo and the word Dismember would make people think it's a little unmusical or something, but they're really freaking good.
I saw them once. I only saw them once, actually, 2004 with Steve Keeler.
Was it at the Chance?
No, it was in Cleveland at Brave Words and Bloody Knuckles 6-pack.
Oh, they
weekend.
played that?
Yeah,
Oh,
Dismember
wow.
played that.
I
They were
remember.
great. Yeah. Oh, you don't remember, huh? All right.
I saw them with
I remember the show, but I didn't remember that they played.
I just remember. I think I forget what day they played, but I know Rich Catino said he was there too. But yeah, they played that festival.
yeah,
can't
I saw
believe- Yeah,
I saw Dismember with Mary Chulo from Primeval,
nice.
and she introduced me to Matty Karki, the singer. And I was still pretty young, and I thought I wasn't sure yet if Scandinavian extreme metal guys were insane criminals or not. And I assure you, he was a wonderful guy, showed Mary a picture of his daughter. She was like 4 at the time, and she was so cute, little Scandinavian girl. I'm like, oh, these guys are human, cool. But young and naive. But
The
they're
artwork for the first album, the artwork on the back, they're like just totally soaked in blood. Nobody's wearing a shirt. They got like bullet belts on. They just got that look on their face like they just
Yep.
like shot up a place and ran away.
oh yeah, they absolutely had the finger on the pulse of death metal. I don't know if you can tell on my screen, but they all have the makeup on to look dead.
We've had Fred Etzby on the Rock Fantasy Files, and I was surprised to find out that he lives in New Jersey. I'm like,
No
"Fred?"
shit.
Yeah,
We're going to his house.
Nice.
like we're coming
I
over.
put up pictures like on the Jersey Shore. I'm like, dude, what are you on vacation? Like, no, I live over here now.
Cool band, really, really great EP. Really, just razor sharp EP.
I love that EP.
Awesome.
Chef's kiss.
All right, Ryan, back to you.
All right, so well, like you said, it is mostly black metal, death metal, thrash metal. So I'm going into the weeds. I'm going into the obscure shit.
No
Favorite
kidding.
Big surprise.
That's a surprise.
Big surprise. This is my favorite band. I've talked about them before. Next 3 are some of actually. This is all my favorite shit. But this is my favorite band from Italy. So Pete actually said you think it was kind of surprising that Sabotage did that earlier in their career. But for most black and death metal bands, I find that they tend to put out the EP, like they do a demo, test the waters. Then a lot of them do an EP, or maybe they do an album and an EP, and then they put out an album. So in this case, it was a couple of demos. They actually formed in 1986. But this EP didn't come out in 1992. So they had been around for 6 years, and then they finally put out an EP. So they were kind of well rehearsed at that point. And that band is Mortuary Drape, and the album is called, the EP is called Into the Drape. It's pretty short. So these guys, they're fucking awesome. It's like classic. It's like you take old Merciful Fate, like that classic kind of mid-'80s satanic heavy metal, and then you mix it with like all that great Italian stuff, like Goblin, Fabio Frizzi, old Death SS, Paul Chain, all the old, old Fulci movies, Argento movies. They're up there with these big purple robes on, these capes, very, very visually over the top. Like I said on other shows, Italian bands can wear capes on stage. I don't know about any other bands from any other countries. And these guys, to me, were always the best Italian band. It's black metal, but it's like really grounded in like classic heavy metal. So there's a lot of Merciful Fate in there. There's a lot of like old, a lot of good riffs. It's not all blast beats. In fact, there's no blast beats on this that I'm aware of. So it's good heavy stuff. It's dark. You like old Italian horror movies, Suspiria, like that kind of stuff. Just like combine Merciful Fate and Suspiria, smash them together, you get Mortuary Drape. So this is their first EP,
Nice.
and it's fucking awesome. So I'm going with that.
They were so good live when you took me to
Oh.
see them, Ryan. They were amazing.
Yeah, I've seen them like 10 times, and they're like one of the top 10 bands I've ever seen in my life. Just
And they're from
absolutely
Italy,
awesome.
so you go like this.
Yeah, very. I was a little drunk. I don't know if that was appropriate, but we did it all the same. So that's my second. That's my fourth choice. From before.
All right, my fourth choice, this is kind of a no-brainer here. I couldn't have this list without this. And going back to what Chris said earlier, you got to have at least 3 songs to qualify as an EP. Well, this might be one of the best 3-song EPs ever. Haunting the Chapel by Slayer. I mean, if it's got Chemical Warfare on it,
Yeah.
it's already legendary, right? One of the best songs the band ever did. Captor of Sin, Haunting the Chapel, title track. If you get the reissue, you've got Aggressive Perfector on here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My 3 version.
Chris has one
Cassette
too.
too, somewhere.
Heavy metal doesn't get any better than that fucking EP. I'm sorry.
No, I mean, yeah, this is like the poster child for heavy metal EPs, right?
It's fine.
Oh yeah.
And it's funny because I remember when this first came out. In fact, I bought this one from you as well, Steve.
Right.
When this first came out, I remember picking it up and going to pay for it. Like, but wait a second, it's only 3 songs on here. What's the deal? And then you get home and you listen to it, and you're like, oh, but what are 3 songs, right?
Yeah, those are good
Yeah.
songs.
Yeah. So yeah, Haunting the Chapel, my number 4. Back to Steve.
You don't remember how much you paid for it, like Chris?
I don't remember, Steve.
Chris has got a wonderful memory.
For some reason, I was going to say, I don't know why, but I remember Haunting the Chapel being kind of expensive.
Oh.
Like an $8-ish.
I was I was a drunk college kid when I bought that, so I couldn't tell you. I was probably hungover when I bought it. So I would, whatever money change I had in my pocket, I just
Nice.
handed it over. It's like
One of the
Take it.
most evil sounding
Oh, yeah.
recordings
Well, I
Oh,
think on
yeah.
that EP, they charge you per riff, and there's a lot of fucking riffs. So, you know,
That could be. That jacked up the price.
Yeah.
I mean, Horn of the
$100.
Chapel's my all-time favorite Slayer song. So
Yeah,
Oh,
I'm
Chemical
with you on that.
Warfare, I think is my favorite heavy metal song, like, period.
Yeah,
Chemical
it's great.
Warfare.
It's-
Maybe
Yeah.
Hallowed Be Thy Name, but like Hallowed Be Thy Name, Chemical Warfare, best metal song ever. I don't know. Depends on my mood.
Yep.
Shit, yeah.
All right, Steve, what are we? Number
Back
three?
to me. For number 3, I'm going with Halloween. The Halloween EP. Of course, how it goes Starlight, Murderer, Warrior, Victim of Fate, Cry for Freedom. Doesn't get much better than that.
No, it doesn't.
On a big
Absolutely.
Halloween kick lately, and I love the new Halloween, and and it's great that Kai is back in the band, and I love Kai on those early records and his vocals and that grittier vocal style. It all just blends together. But what a great record! And then going right into Walls of Jericho after that was back to
And
back.
Steve, you know, when the CD reissue came in Walls of Jericho and they tacked the EP on at the end of it, that's like one of the greatest albums of all time right there.
Yeah, I was gonna say
Oh,
that's the version I have. So I guess I kind of
That's the one I
forgot
got,
that it was an EP.
Yeah, I remember
And that's
having
what-
that. I bought that from Steve also.
My
That's
friend
what-
copied that for me. He copied that album for me in high school. I was in 11th grade and I listened to the shit out of that when he gave that to me. I couldn't believe it. So
Yeah, yeah.
Amazing. It's really good.
Cry for freedom.
Just like that. So, I just like,
2 years ago, about what was it? 3 years ago? 3 years ago we saw him, Nick.
Yeah,
Down
one of the
at,
best nights.
Irving Plaza.
yep.
I
Incredible.
didn't go to that because I'm an asshole.
That was
That
great.
was probably
I think I
too
was away from-
commercial for you with those underground circles at the time.
No, he loves that.
I love old Halloween, but I think I was away somewhere doing something stupid. so
You're
who knows?
probably seeing some band in a basement in Brooklyn. Was
Yeah, actually, you're probably right. You're probably.
I got you finally.
I still want to see a band in a Chinese restaurant just because that sounds really cool.
Yeah,
Probably
well,
happening. Is it happening? Probably happening again now.
Yeah, I did it 5
bang
times.
your head, eat an egg roll at the same time, you know?
No doubt.
Special
Did I
night.
tell you guys my little brief Halloween little story about Michael Wyckoff about interviewing him? Did I tell you that? I got like it was last year. It was when the new album came out. Yeah. I got to interview Michael Wyckoff here in my domain here. And he's such a fun, just easy guy. I couldn't believe I was talking to him. I loved his music for so long. You know, he's totally easygoing. And he spotted Raven. He spotted my dog. And he asked me with his German accent. He's like, "Oh, what's his name?" And I was like, "Oh, Raven." And he goes, "Raymond." And I'm like, no, Raven. And he's like, "Ha." He goes, "Oh, Raven." He goes, "Ha, Raymond." And he started just calling him Raymond. So as far as I'm concerned, the dog's name is Raymond now. Michael Wyckoff said it.
That's pretty funny.
That is funny.
Yeah, he was such an easy-going guy. Really cool.
He's got a very dry sense of humor too.
Yeah, very much.
Every time I watch any interviews, and he's just kind of like that guy. Just look like.
Yeah, he was one of my more out there. Like he would just talk about whatever he wanted to,
Yeah,
and kind of like Devin Townsend does that. They're kind of similar. that
yeah,
way.
yeah.
But
Some guys just kind of like to interview themselves, and you just got to kind of go with it.
You're along for the ride. Yeah, that's
Yep.
happened to me before. Yeah.
Michael Schenker's one of those.
yeah, yeah, Wikey was awesome, though, man.
All right, who we? Chris, I think we're up to you, right?
Oh, okay. All right, these guys, one of my favorite bands, and these guys gotta be the kings of EPs. Kind of like how Iron Maiden and Deep Purple are always fighting to see who's got more live double albums. I could be wrong, but I don't know if there's anybody that has more live has more EPs than Venom. This is they would just put out random fucking EPs everywhere. This is Scandinavian Assault, signed by Mantis, Abaddon, and Kronos.
Nice.
And this is a later one. This is Tear Your Soul Apart, which has the Demolition Man, and I had this signed by Demolition Man, Abaddon, and Mantis. And they're just EPs with live tracks. But man, Venom put out a ton of them. They
They're all
did a
good.
couple of years ago an actual box set of all the Assault EPs.
I bought that shit.
Yeah, I bought it, but I can't find it, so I couldn't show
Wow.
that one. But I do have it. But yeah, the Venom's my next pick.
Nice.
He might need an intervention from like who's that company that goes around there and they straighten everything out for you? Never mind.
Where there's a company that does that? Can I hire them?
Yeah, I think they're called hoarders or something. They come in and they straighten everything out for you and make sure you're not sleeping underneath a turntable
I think
or
they
something.
throw everything out.
Or a dead cat. Yeah, no, I don't have any of that. Any of that
Okay.
stuff.
Well, a guy I know has a bunch of arcade games in Wildwood, New Jersey, and they came to his place and he was actually sleeping on a skee ball table.
Wow.
Randy
Times
said,
are tough,
"Yeah."
everybody. Times are tough.
I do
Yeah.
say that you have a statue of the Nature Boy on the
Yeah.
episode now. Is
With that.
that's going full in on the wrestling now too?
Autographed tights and autographed robe.
Did he
yeah,
autograph the tight for you?
Yeah, my buddy Sean got it all for me. The belt, the tights, everything. The boots. He's even got the Ric Flair boots.
We got Darth Vader. We got 2 Star Wars and 1 wrestler up there.
No, that's not Darth Vader. That's General Ursus from Planet of the Apes.
It is. From just the lighting. Okay, now I see.
Yeah, it's a little dark.
There, yeah.
From a distance, I just immediately Darth Vader.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's all right.
Good. Of course, apes.
Yeah, I love those apes.
Yeah.
So Chris, now it's funny now that we're talking about that. So the internet connection's working really good in the garage tonight.
Yes, it's a different laptop and a different wire setup. So
Yeah, it's crystal
knock on
clear.
wood. I don't want to jinx anything. I set this up for Busted Open today for Sirius XM, and I was like, I'll just, rather than disconnect everything and hook it up again in the house, I'll just leave it for tonight.
It looks great.
Yeah,
Thank you.
awesome. All right, Nick, back to
All
the
right.
Lords of Babylon.
So I'm switching gears a little bit, and I'm going to give some love to a newer band. Well, no, I'm sorry, a newer release compared to what we're talking about. But I've talked about this band before. They're from the UK. They're called Solstice.
Ah,
Yeah, and they are criminally underrated. It's like doomy heavy metal with a really clear, epic vocal. Yeah, right. And this is called Death's Crown is Victory. And it's got 2 instrumentals and 2 proper songs. And I can't stress enough to all of our viewers who like, everything from Candlemass to, Iron Maiden to all the epic Manowar, stuff like that. Solstice is right in there with the really, really epic literary sounding lyrics.
fucking amazing. Just say
Yeah,
it.
they're just fucking amazing. I try to use all these words, but fucking amazing is probably the best phrase I could think of. I cannot stress this enough, everybody. Check out Solstice from England. They are they don't put out a lot of albums, and you could see that everything they make, they pour everything into. So I have to give a nod to Death's Crown is Victory by Solstice. Incredible work of art.
Good choice.
Thank you. I wrote it. No, I'm just kidding.
All right, so we're going to travel down to a little obscure dusty town in Australia called Whyalla, Australia. And it has the honor, even though it's a pretty much little backwoods town, so I've been told, a lot of my favorite bands, the genesis of those bands started in this town. Bestial Warlust, Vomitor, and 2 of my top 10 most favoriteest, greatest, happiest, greatest, most bestest bands of all time. I got the poster for one of them here, Gospel of the Horns. And so from the year 2000, I'm picking, this is totally obscure as fuck, but I don't care. Gospel of the Horns and Eve of the Conqueror. So this basically is, they're an Australian band, and they play that kind of Australian, like black thrash metal style that's, fairly well known from that continent. To me, they're one of the best bands doing it. And these guys, it's kind of like old Sodom, old Slayer, Venom, Motorhead, just kind of all smashed together. Great, good, beer chugging, fist pumping, like awesome, just good heavy metal, just really good stuff. They put out a couple albums since then. They didn't do a lot of stuff. They broke up a couple of years ago. They did one short U.S. tour in 2007, which I didn't go to because I'm a dumb fuck, but it was only on the West Coast, so I could have flown out there, but I didn't. And so I'm going with Gospel of the Horns, Eve of the Conqueror. I don't know how many people know it, but if you don't know it, you should check it out because it's really damn good. If you like old Slayer, Motorhead, Venom, old Celtic Frost, you're probably gonna like this because this is just really just excellent heavy metal. And don't know what else to say about it other than check it out. And the following album they did, actually everything they did is great. But this is works out that it's an EP, but this might be the best thing they ever did. Really special release for me. That is
Full
my
cover
number.
on that.
It's good.
Full cover.
Yeah, the artwork's cool.
All right, my next pick for number 3. This might be like the longest one out of most of the at least out of the ones that I'm picking here today. But I don't even know if this is technically an EP or not, but I've always called it an EP. Released in 1996. Iomi, the
Oh, yeah.
1996 DEP sessions or DEP sessions with Tony and Glenn Hughes. 8 songs, but it's barely a half hour. So I guess it kind of qualifies. But one of the 2 collaborations that Tony Iommi and Glenn Hughes kind of hooked up with after the 7 Star, way after, actually about a decade after, and really good stuff. I love these guys together. Quite frankly, I wish Tony and Glenn would do something together again at this point, because it seems like it's been forever. But From Another World, Gone, great songs on here. Don't Drag the River, I'm Not the Same Man. Just every song in here is really, really good. Just classic Iomi riffing, great Glenn Hughes vocals, top-notch stuff.
Yeah, great release.
It is awesome. It is good.
Definitely.
Back to Steve.
For me, I'm going for one that Lynn would have picked if she was here tonight. Maybe Butch too, but Queensryche's EP from '82 with Queen of the Right, Knight Rider, Blinded, Lady Wore Black. Pete might have had this in his pile. I stole it from him, but you know what? If we all like the same stuff, it means we all got good taste. But definitely, I don't have to worry about picking anything that Sky would pick. So
That's the best thing Queensryche ever did. I like it.
I know. I'm just saying. I know you wouldn't pick it because it's not obscure, but you're great for the obscure titles on the show. So, but not to say anything wrong with that. But yeah, that Queensryche.
I mean,
When I think
Steve,
of
how much was that a game changer when that first came out? Remember that? I mean, it's like,
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yes. And I remember not liking pretty much anything by them as much as I like that album. That album was just the EP, an album, whatever you want to call it. I mean, of course, the Warning was great, and some of the stuff that came out after, but that was just a perfect little EP, and it just blew me away.
yeah,
I could still listen to it quite a bit.
yeah, just like 4 completely kick-ass songs.
Really
Yeah,
is.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
All right, Chris, what do you got?
All right, this is number 5.
Or number 2 or number
Number
whatever.
2.
I don't know. I got it. Well, yeah, I didn't go
Number
in
5.
any
We're
order.
already up to 2. You got to start over.
Oh, all right. Well, listen, I'm pulling a Keeler. At the end, I got a ton of honorable mentions, I guess, because I pulled out all
Okay,
these other
good.
records. But I'll go with this one because I looked. This is one I don't remember where the hell I got it from. I might have gotten it from Rock Fantasy, but it was. I don't know if it was ever even released in America. It might have been, but Testament live at Eindhoven.
Oh,
It
yeah.
was released in America.
Was it?
I have a CD version of it that,
Well,
Yeah, I
there's-
think it was.
unless
Well,
it was an
this-
import.
There's a sticker on the back. This is from '87, so I guess this is when they played. Yeah, this is from recorded June 8th, 1987 at the Dynamo in Holland. It was just a 4-track EP plus the one. Well, there's a studio cut, right? Reign of Terror, or was that
Yeah.
live too? I don't even remember. But I found this and I was like, oh yeah, I always remember really liking, live at Eindhoven. And then I found another copy.
Okay.
And I was like, "Oh, okay, all right." And then,
If there's more.
yeah,
Wait,
and then
there's more.
Ryan said, "Oh, yeah, right. There's a CD version that has like a bunch more songs on it." So I
That's the one I
guess
got.
it's a good thing because I like the EP because I guess I bought it 3 times.
If you act now,
Yeah,
Can't go wrong with Testament, man.
Yeah.
Can't go wrong. Cool.
The-
All right, Nick, back to you.
Chris, the copy of that I have used to belong to our fallen friend Chris Aliberti.
Oh, no kidding. God bless
yep.
Chris. It's been a long time.
Yeah,
Yeah, Chris was a humongous
yep,
Testament fan. I remember taking Chris to his first time to see Testament
yeah.
on the it was the record they put out in '99.
The Gathering.
The Gathering. Yep. I took Chris to see them at the Birch Hill nightclub, I want to say.
Birch Hill.
And they were amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, Chris was a good friend of Chris and myself, who died of brain cancer at far
Yeah,
too young an
sadly
age.
at a very young age.
But his mom, I remember his mom would let his like close friends, like she's like, I don't know what to do with all these albums and CDs. So we reverentially, took some,
That's awesome.
so that it lives on. So it's in a special place I got, with stuff from him. So
Very cool.
yeah, I thought of that right away. So I don't know. I have, like you said, I got so many honorable mentions and shit. I don't even know where to go next, but I think I'm gonna go with Switzerland's enigmatic and strange Samael.
Nice.
This beautiful. I have it on CD. They just reissued it, and then I have this I bought when it came out. The EP is called Rebellion. These guys started out as this like really creeping sort of dark black vile metal, and then they slowly became this more like industrial creative outfit with a lot of keyboards and stuff like that. And I think it worked for a while, and then they kind of lost the thread, but this was the apex of all of that. And this EP has the song Rebellion, the title track of it. I don't know if you can see the cool weird CD art, but anyway, the song Rebellion is maybe my favorite Samael song. It's just such a great tune, man. I can't even describe it. It's like, I don't want to say, oh, it's black metal, it's death metal. I don't know what the hell it is. It's got unbelievable keyboards and a real catchy thing going on. I highly recommend this to anybody who's willing to expand their horizons. It features reworks of two of their older songs with a little more of the, programmed keyboard sound, but to me, it actually works. And it features a cover of Alice Cooper's I Love the Dead, which is really gothy. And, he's not a great singer, but they try.
With that cover.
It worked.
They do it.
I liked it a lot. Yeah, I liked it a lot. I think it was a very cool version. So, this came out in about 95, and this is the CD from 95. So very influential for me personally. So I got to go with Samael from Switzerland.
I was gonna say, I know I have it, but I don't remember anything other than Ceremony of Opposites, really.
Yeah, this was this came out right after that.
Right.
Yeah, then
right
Passage, right?
right before Passage, which is
Those
two
like
albums, Ceremony and Passage, are their masterworks to me, and this is in between that.
I saw them on the Ceremony Opposite tour.
You did?
Yeah.
Lucky. I saw them pretty early too. I saw them in the 90s. I know that. It was with Dimo Borgir in Manhattan.
I think that was the Lime. No,
The
that
Wetlands?
was not the Limelight,
Wetlands, right?
because I was at that show
Wetlands?
too. Wetlands, yeah.
Wetlands. Remember you were at that?
I want to say September of
99?
99.
That's good memory.
99, I want to
Do
say.
you remember me getting my head split open with a bottle? Remember I told that story?
I do remember that story, but I don't remember seeing you that night get hit. But there was a lot of people crammed. The Wetlands was really tiny,
Yeah.
well.
like a closet, pretty much.
Yeah. I bled a lot during that show. It was great.
Yeah, that's
Oh, no, I-
Time.
There wasn't many metal clubs in New York City in those days. It was like very limited and they're very
Yeah.
small places.
Yeah, it was.
We're in the 2000s. It kind of opened up again.
Yeah.
Certainly did. Yep. All right, Ryan, what do you got?
All right, so my number one and number two are always going to be my number one, number two. The order they come in, I don't know. I kind of like them equally, so it's random. So I'm just going to pick one. So first one, all right, I'm going to go with. You already said it, but obviously, I don't know. I don't know what else there is to say about it.
Us.
Haunting the fucking Chapel. I mean, obviously, one of the big differences between this and Show No Mercy was Dave started using the double bass drums, and it makes a huge difference. It's as much as I love Show No Mercy, obviously, brilliant album. But these songs are a lot darker, a lot faster, a lot heavier. Chemical Warfare is probably my favorite heavy metal song of all time. It's just fucking perfect. The Captor of Sin, Haunting the Chapel, also, they're all so good. I've heard a couple people say if this was extended out to a full length, if they had recorded a full length's worth of songs, so to speak, it would be the best thing they ever did. I mean, it's kind of like, a hypothetical, like what if, a thing, but I don't know. I might agree with that. It's the CP is just that good. But obviously, what came after Hell Awaits was also freaking amazing. Yeah, I'm going with Slayer, Haunting the Chapel, because I don't know, just some of the best heavy metal ever laid to tape. Really, this is when the band I think was kind of at their creative apex and really writing really good songs. So
Brian, I wonder, have you ever read I wonder if they wrote that material? Do you think that they wrote that and the Hell Awaits material in the same general creative?
I think there was a tour. I feel like there was a tour in between the two.
Yeah, they
I mean,
don't sound like they came from like the same like sessions or there's a difference between the two.
I think
Yeah.
so maybe Chris can clarify this, but I think once they went into Hell Awaits, I know like Merciful Fate was like a little more of an influence.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Merciful Fate was a huge influence on the Hell Awaits records. That's why the songs are longer and more complex. So, and yeah, I think Pete is also right. I believe there was a tour in between Haunting the Chapel and Hell Awaits. So yeah, they definitely,
They don't sound the same. Like I don't like Show No Mercy sounds a certain way. This sounds a certain way, and Hell Away. Like they all obviously have different productions, but they all sound different. Like they, different just whatever was in their heads at the time. But
Yeah.
it just doesn't sound like Merciful Fate to me. And Hell Awaits kind of you can hear that influence. So
yeah.
But they're all fucking great.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, I guess if anything, we could blame Merciful Fate somewhat, but
Slayer just even more awesome a little bit.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly. All right, my number 2 is Queensryche EP from 1983. Yeah, I mean this. I still like remember the first time I ever heard this. I was kind of like, "Who the hell is that singing?" My God, young Jeff Tate was just ridiculous. I mean, Queen of the Reich, Lady Wore Black, Knight Rider. I mean, all 4 songs on here are just absolutely amazing. It's raw, it's fast, it's powerful. This was just a game changer of a heavy metal EP. And, the band would go on and do slightly different things on each album after it. But yeah, like Steve said, there was something about this EP that I think just took the world by storm. And, we all knew that there was a new band coming up the ranks really, really quickly. And I think, this and Restless and Wild by Accept. I mean, all these albums kind of came out around the same time, just like blew everybody away. If you were a metal fan, it was just great to be like a teenager when this stuff was coming out. So yeah, that's my number 2.
Excellent. So you ready for my number 1?
Yes.
It's been mentioned by 2 of us so far, and Slayer, Haunting the Chapel was my number 1. I mean, it could go back and forth with Queensryche, but they're both excellent records. I mean, they're slightly different styles of music, even though they're both metal. So, but what can you say? It's Slayer. And look what happened when Slayer broke up.
Yeah, world went to shit.
What happened to the world?
I'm so glad I caught those last 2 Slayer shows.
That's true. Yeah, they break up and then everything goes to poop.
Hell goes loose.
Hi, Chris.
That's all she wrote for me. I don't even
All right,
have any
well,
honorable mentions.
I'm going to take this one, and I have I'm pulling Steve Keeler. I think I have 12 honorable mentions, so I'll save that for
Keeler
after.
didn't even have any tonight, so you didn't pull my card.
I'm just doing this.
Taking your place.
I'm just pulling this one because I'm like, I think this is the only time, shockingly, I could be wrong, but I think this was the only time this was ever released on CD, and it's Iron Maiden, Made in Japan. This is the 1995 reissue of Killers, but it had a second disc, which had the Made in Japan EP on here, which is awesome.
Nice.
I always thought, foolishly, I always thought, well, Maiden has the whole set on tape. They should put the whole fucking thing out, officially on CD. I mean, I know there's tons of bootlegs. I even found one myself that... all right, but I have it somewhere. But yeah, there's tons of bootlegs. But yeah, I always thought Maiden should have done a proper reissue. But yeah, Maiden Live with Deano, 5 tracks from May 1981. Just awesome stuff. And yeah, that's Iron Maiden, Made in Japan.
To me that and Beast Over Hammersmith is like my favorite Maiden live shit. That really early stuff.
Oh yeah,
absolutely amazing.
Nice. All right, Nick, you're number 1.
Thank you. Number 1.
Number 1, Nick.
Nick, you're number 1, buddy.
You're number 1, Nick.
Yeah, exactly.
Number 1.
So, I mean, I left Halloween and Slayer to you guys, but I just want to say that I think that they're probably tied in my world for the 2 greatest EPs ever pressed for me. So I just want to get that out of the way. But I didn't pick them because I wanted us to talk about different shit. So I am going to go over and now pick my favorite EP for me, besides those 2, and I'm going to go with my longtime ones I always mention, Amorphis.
Oh yeah.
I have to go with the rarely talked about Mike Cantala EP. This thing came out Yeah, it features an acoustic version of the song My Cantilla from Elegy, which is one of my greatest albums ever in the world. The two original songs on here, the Brother Slayer and the Lost Son, Brother Slayer Part 2, are really, really spacey, proggy with the Moog keyboard and like all that very, very 70s sounding. And the singer, Pasi Koskinen, at the time was Amorphis' singer. And I think this is one of his strongest performances. He has a really great voice. Shame the guy kind of lost his marbles, but
I love passing.
yeah, Pasi really did some good shit. And this was awesome.
Back then.
This EP features two really good covers. Levitation by Hawkwind, which is just such a phenomenal song. And this is, it's like a slightly more juiced up metal version of it. It's so good. And P, you probably know and like Kingston Wall, right? Have you heard of them?
I
That's a
do.
band you like, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I never knew what they were, but they just Amorphis covered And I Hear You Call on here. And it was really, really good. So very 70s spacey kind of sounding stuff. So I know this isn't like the greatest EP, in the world, but for me, in my world, it's my favorite. Should I do some honorable mentions?
We'll come back or we'll circle back around.
Very good. We'll circle back.
Circle back. That's right. All right, Ryan, you're number one.
All right, so this one, I don't know. This one went back and forth between Slayer and, like Nick said, this doesn't usually get mentioned as much as like one of the classics, but in my world, this could be this might be my favorite EP. I don't know. So that is from 2003. It is Terror Abraxas by Destroyer 666. It's the last thing they did from like they started in 95. They put out a whole bunch of killer, some of the favorite metal of all time. They put this out in 2003, and then they didn't put out anything else musically. They did tours, but they didn't put out anything else musically until 2009. So this was kind of like, to me, kind of capped off that first initial period of activity. I was fortunate to see their first ever U.S. tour, Brooklyn, 2002. And they came, they came back several times since. But yeah, this is just, man, I've listened to this. I can't even count. They still play, every song on here is brilliant for me, but A Breed Apart and Trial by Fire, they still play those at nearly every show. And they actually kind of went the Judas Priest route. Judas Priest did, back in the day, did Diamonds and Rust. They took like this kind of like folky female singer-songwriter song and made it like this fucking screaming heavy metal anthem. They pulled this song called Prometheus, which is from a Australian singer-songwriter called Wendy O'Rule, who I'd never heard of up until I got this. And it's the same thing. It's like an acoustic, kind of like a very moody, sullen song. They made it like this heavy metal anthem. Really fucking good. I don't know. I've got this on CD. I got this on. I pulled an aloe with these guys. I got CD, tape. I got like 3 vinyl copies floating around. This is the newest one I got, so I pulled this off the shelf. But yeah, Terror Abraxas from Destroyer 666 from 2003. Fucking love it.
They're awesome. They're awesome.
And yeah, this EP, they have a couple EPs. They're all good, but this one's my favorite.
Cool. All right, my number one from 1995. This is the first release from this band with their new keyboard player, Derek Sherinian, replaced Kevin Moore. Otherwise, it's pretty much the same crew. And this is an EP which features only one song, but the song is 23 minutes and change. Dream Theater, A Change of Seasons. It's probably my favorite epic from Dream Theater ever, and they've got a lot of good ones, but it's just so heavy, written by Mike Portnoy. Great song. And the later CD reissue, they tacked on a bunch of covers and stuff, which are pretty cool too. But for me, it's always all about the title track, Change of Seasons. Absolutely awesome. It's heavy, it's prog metal, but it's so heavy and moody and just great musicianship, just killer stuff. That's my number one. Number one. Ready for some honorable mentions? Steve, you got no honorable mentions?
I guess I got two. I guess we can't do the show without one of the most famous metal EPs, which is 598, Metallica. Hey, maybe that was right because Metallica was only 598, so Overkill's was 499. So, and somewhere's in that ballpark. And Merciful Fate.
I found this one.
Merciful Fate, of course. The Nuns Had No Fun.
That's right.
And Corpse Out of the Soul. So that's one of the legendary metal EPs. And you mentioned Sabotage, which I had on my list. Other than that, like I didn't do a lot of homework for this because I didn't think I was doing a show as of yesterday, but here I am.
Okay, cool. So Chris, I guess you got 10 now since Steve probably threw out those two really good ones.
All right, yeah, I might have more than 10. I'll go through them quick.
Okay.
I have two other versions of this, but I couldn't find them. But this is the autographed version of Live Undead, the Japanese CD. I found I did like the first two Motley Crue records, so this is the Helter Skelter EP.
Yeah.
But then I found this one, and I was like, oh, okay, all right.
They were both the same, all right?
Surprise, surprise.
Yeah, I didn't know. I guess I already had it. Witchery, they did a cool EP of a couple originals and mostly covers.
I remember that.
That's a good one.
I thought for sure Ryan was going to mention the first Sodom EP.
Yeah,
When,
you forgot.
Honorable mention. I got it.
Oh, there we go. I really loved this one when I was a kid. The Plague from
Yeah,
Nuclear
really
Assault.
Yeah.
Cross of Iron. Great fucking song. Yeah, that's good shit.
Eyes of Horror from Possessed.
Nice. Yeah, that's a good one too.
I found this one. This was a King Diamond EP. It was kind of.
Is it all live stuff or no? I remember that. Actually.
This has The Lake, which was not on the
Yes.
Fatal Portrait record. I think it was only on the CD, maybe.
Mm.
And then Halloween and the Candle, which I think were just pulled from Fatal Portrait. This one is a new version of the other old versions, Apocalyptic Raids from Hellhammer.
I was waiting for you to mention that one.
I got it.
And I have the actual the original vinyl that I got autographed, but I don't know what the fuck I did with it. It's in here somewhere, but I have two versions of on CD of Morbid Tales.
That's a great one.
So those are my
I have
honorable
one
mentions.
more to mention that I forgot to mention was a band that did an in-store in my shop on this album was Sacred Reich with Surf Nicaragua.
Yeah, that was a very popular one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's another one I remember that. Not drinking tonight, so I'm only drinking seltzer, so I can remember more stuff.
Nick, you got any honorables?
Yeah, and again, I left all these Celtic Frost and stuff, to you guys, because I don't know. So I'm gonna go with look, Emperor's EP was phenomenal, black metal. My Dying Bride, the Thrash of Naked Limbs, which was really, really UK doom death, like perfect mixture of doom and death metal with a violin. Amazing. Moonspells, Under the Moonspell, that EP was magical. Mixture of like Middle Eastern sounds, female vocals, Bathory like screams, and folk metal with a little bit of black metal. And then I have to go with Moon Sorrow EP. It's called Tulamersky. Just really epic, like Bathory on crack. Incredible stuff. And Campfires, if anybody knows Norwegian pagan black metal greats, Campfire, their self-titled EP is 3 songs worth of awesomeness, and you should all listen to it because I said so. And that's that.
Because he said so.
That's
All the reason you need. Ryan, you got any left?
Well, Chris mentioned Sodom, which is fucking awesome. That cover is amazing. It's some of my favorite Sodom stuff. Chris mentioned Hellhammer Apocalyptic Raids. Absolutely amazing EP. Sounds like they're playing in a sewer.
Yeah.
He also mentioned Celtic Frost, which is my first introduction to anything Tom G. Warrior did. So I heard this and I'm like, this just blew my fucking mind. I love this. One of my favorite bands. They didn't do a lot of EPs. Nothing that was, I thought, really essential. But a couple of years ago, they put out this one, which was really cool. It was Voivod, did Post Society. 3 or 4 or 5 years, pretty recent. Really, really good EP from their newer era. Current lineup has a really cool cover of a Silver Machine by Hawkwind. This EP by Emperor, which I hate Emperor. Wouldn't want to,
awful.
I'm not into those guys at all. And there's a few other. Me and Nick were talking about this last night. Razor, Armed and Dangerous, Mentally Murdered by Napalm Death, which I believe was the last thing that Lee Dorian did with Napalm Death before Barney
Yes,
joined.
I do believe.
Emperor obviously remembered Dismember Pieces is a huge fucking EP. Let's see. That's about it. Yeah, that was about it for me. And then I had a list of like 100 things that are 100 times even more obscure that like me and some dude from like, East Idaho like knows about. So I'll leave those for another time. But yeah, yeah, good. Definitely for obscure metal, EPs were a big format. So there's like, I don't know, when I went through my room for this, I probably got like 200 EPs and like, I had the Queensryche Slayer and a couple of these and everything else was like sub obscure, ultra obscure metal. So that's mostly where it was. But yeah, good topic though. Really good topic.
Great topic.
Yeah, for sure. Kind of forgot how important or how big EPs were.
Oh yeah,
and still are. Yeah,
Yeah.
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 I mean, speaking of like, this first band that I'm going to talk about in honorable mentions. I mean, I was amazed to see how many EPs they have released, and pretty quietly too, because most people just kind of pay attention to their full lengths. But man, Doom, Veterans, Candlemass have a shitload of
Yeah.
EPs.
Yeah. Good
Like
point.
Lucifer Rise. I mean, these are just two of them that I grabbed. The Pendulum. There's so many of them. It's like almost like between every like
Well, even
full
the,
length.
the first one, right? Epicus, Doomicus, Metallicus. That's an EP,
technically
isn't it?
an EP. Yeah, yeah, pretty much.
Well, it's 6 songs, but it's like
It's kind of long. It's about a half hour, 35 minutes. So maybe it doesn't quite qualify. But I mean, they have like 10 or 12 EPs. Believe it or not, I think they have more EPs than they have full lengths. It's crazy, but they're good. I mean, they usually feature like a new studio track or two and a couple live tracks. That's or some demos of older stuff. So Candlemass is one. I'm a big fan of Down. Phil Anselmo and Robert Keenan and so on and so forth. They've got those 2 EPs, Down 4, part 1 and part 2. This is part 2. I believe they came out in 2013, 2014. Killer, 5-6 songs, just as crushing as all their other stuff. Totally love it. John Arch, A Twist of Fate. John Arch, of course, the original lead singer from Fate's Warning. He kind of disappeared after he left the band. He disappeared from the face of the earth for like 25 years. Came out with this short little EP on Metal Blade. Totally kicks ass. The guy still sings Up a Storm. And my last one, Nevermore, In Memory.
nice.
In memory of the late World Name. But of course, this came out when he was still alive. But yeah, great 5-song EP, kick ass. Totally.
You know what? I got one more, Pete. I'm going to put this as the most money I just pulled it off the shelf. This is the most money I ever paid for an EP. This is from the Japanese band Psy, who I love. But some of their older stuff, depending on what point it is, a little rare. So they put out an EP early on called Ghastly Funeral Theater, which is really cool. You never heard of them. There's black metal, but there's like a lot of Japanese music influence, a lot of like Eastern influence. Very, very weird experimental band, like almost like Hawkwind weird, all kinds of weird shit going on. Very prog metal at times, prog rock, big influence of 70s prog rock, and then like just straight up weird black metal. So I think I paid like $60 for this because I couldn't find it for years, and it was the only thing of theirs I didn't own. And like so when you lay all their albums out. The album title, the first letter of the album begins with each letter spells out the band name Psy, and then it repeats. I think at this point it's repeated each time.
Interesting.
So the first one's called Scorn Defeat, and the second one was Infidel Art. So the third letter was G, and it was Ghastly Funeral Theater, and then the next one was called Hail Horror Hail. So I had everything spelled out to spell Psy like repeated, except for this G. I didn't have this one, so I'm like, I gotta fucking get it.
Had to have it.
I had to have it. So I'm like, $60 for an EP. I mean, it's a pretty long EP. It's like 35 minutes. But yeah, I said fuck it, and I bought it, and it's really good. I really like it a lot. One of my favorite bands. So and I had to complete the little sequence. So
collect them all. That's what they told us as a kid. Collect them all.
Yeah, it's sunk in. Oh my god.
The curse is real, people.
See? It's true.
It's 100% real.
Yep.
To be a collector. We joke about it all the time, but it's just
it's a heavy burden to bear.
Yeah,
it is, man. It's like there's no escaping it. You
No,
can't just wake up one day and say, "I'm done. I'm not doing it anymore."
I'm praying that. I'm praying for that day.
Dude, it'll never happen.
I'm begging somebody to get me to that
Not
day.
coming anytime soon.
What's the most you've
gonna do more reissues? Didn't you hear?
What's the most you've each spent on one musical item, one record or
Oh God.
Give me a second, I'll tell you.
Jeez.
I mean, in hundreds, I'd say for vinyl. I've spent 150 for vinyl or box set for 200 maybe. I'd say.
I know what it is. I know what it is. I get it.
200 beans for the Arcturus box set,
Nice.
a vinyl special edition. We could do a show just on this release, but
I probably spent like about $75 on like a rare out of print CD, but I think as far as like something like I spent like $250 for a Jethro Tull box set a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
And it was out of print, and yeah, I'd probably do it again.
Have to get.
that would be a cool show. Like some of the most we've spent, like 5 things we spent the most on would be funny.
And Pete
I think my
doesn't
number
have-
one-
Pete
actually,
doesn't
no,
have the
number one is
vinyl ish problem like we all have. So he's taken to the CDs. His wife
I can't, man. If I went that route now, I'd be doomed.
Hey, you know what? Maybe I'll give you a free turntable, Pete.
Dude, don't do that.
It's worked on others. It's worked on others.
Steve,
Hey,
if you love me, please don't do that.
like, you know, I get a nice turntable and like Merry Christmas, and then all of a sudden the kids in there are like, oh shit, I got my vinyl now.
You know,
Oh,
Pete, you know what they say? The first taste is free.
Ugh.
Yeah, it's like a
I
drug
think
deal.
that's the hook. Steve, I'll tell you, the most I spent was probably 160, 170 on a huge fucking box set for the band Order from Chaos from Kansas. Very awesome, obscure 90s black death metal band. Some of these guys went on to be in the band Angel Corpse. You ever heard of them?
Oh, sure.
Yeah, Order from Chaos were fucking awesome. This put out this giant ass fucking box set a couple of years ago. Obviously, you gotta be a fucking maniac to buy something like this from such an obscure band. But yeah, froze it in steel. So I paid, and that was what it was going for. It wasn't like I paid a lot. It just this giant box set.
Right.
Cost about 150, 160, something like that. So
Now, what did it cost to ship that? That's pretty
it
massive.
was a lot. This thing's heavy as fuck. Yeah,
It looks
it's got
it.
lights in here, it's got
Yeah.
vinyl, it's got all kinds of shit. Yeah, so it was not cheap. I think a flag, T-shirt. I don't remember. It wasn't cheap. I'll tell you that. Definitely wasn't cheap.
Ryan, did you see that brand new Uriah Heep box set
Yeah, I did.
with the one with the T-shirts and the picture
T-shirt
discs?
too.
Oof. I know. How much is it going for? I didn't look. I don't want to look.
It's not cheap. It's not cheap. That's right, heap. So you gotta have.
Speaking of weird things that just came out, Doro just put out the Warlock live.
Yeah.
And Ryan, did you see she actually put out, which I was supposed to get 2 of the other day, and my record company lost it in shipment, or it's still coming. They actually did the shape thing of her with the wizard warlock guy that me and you. Now I have the original version from the Triumph and Agony album, but they reissued it now in a shaped cutout with that live thing. And I did not get it yet, but that's, if you remember, me and you, that same show you were talking about earlier, we went out to
Doro. You brought it with you. I
and
remember
we had
that.
there's a picture of me and you holding that up with her in front of Alice Cooper's restaurant when
Yeah, I
when he
remember
did Cooperstown there. Yeah.
I got that picture somewhere laying around. I'll have to dig that up.
Yeah, I got it too. And I think it showed up in one of her albums or something too. I sent it to her, and it was in something. It was me and you and her holding that up in some
That's
kind
cool.
of thing she put out. Yeah.
I remember that.
She's awesome.
Nice. Yeah, she is. Well, there you have it, everybody. Our favorite EPs, and as it turns out, mostly heavy metal and hard rock EPs. That's generally what you see with these things. So if there's any great ones that are your favorites that we missed, please put them in the comments below. And I want to thank the crew here for doing some homework and putting together a fun show. This was great. So visit us on the web at www.seaoftranquility.org. We're on Facebook. We're on Twitter. Of course, we're here on YouTube. All
the damn time.
damn time. For Steve Keeler, Chris Allo, Nick Franco, and Ryan Scow, I am Pete Pardo. We'll see you guys next week. Stay tuned for that. Have a good one. Bye-bye.